Welcome back to episode 6 of the Tap 2 podcast. I'm Stash alongside technically some guy I just met one day, Jonas
Yeah.
Clark.
I guess everyone's technically a guy you just met one day. You know, your mom is just a lady you met, but really early, if you think about it.
with no memory of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Well, episode 6, we are talking about another video game topic, but before we get into it, in the interim, we're going to call out the socials. We'll say Instagram, TikTok, episodes on YouTube, episodes on Spotify. Go rate, interact, do all of those things because, like we said, the producers are in our ears telling us that it helps.
These guys have stolen my brother and sister, and they won't release them unless you like the TikTok. And I don't know what they're doing to them, guys. They got the hummus out. Please help.
Okay. Jonas, I have a question for you at the top of the episode. You could get as ballparky as you'd like. How much would you say that you spend on video games per year? That includes purchasing, microtransactions, all of that. What do you think you spend per year?
That is a really hard question. If I'm like legitimately thinking, it's probably on average like $200 to $300. Like I spend because I buy probably a couple of games a year. So like 3 games and you're already at $200.
Yeah.
And
depending
then
on.
if you're playing like any live service game, if like an expansion or blah 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 comes out, you can spend like probably $20 on that. So if I'm doing all that, adding all that up, and then you have to pay subscription fees for stuff like PlayStation Plus. You have to pay fees for like Nintendo Online, and that Nintendo Online actually super duper cheap. So probably I'm gonna say $200 to $300, maybe 400. Jesus Christ.
Then you are right within the average. The average consumer spends about 400 to 450 on video games per year, and that's exactly what the episode is about today. Because as I've mentioned before, I hate microtransactions. So let's talk a little bit about the birth of the microtransaction. And you know what? I forgot last episode. We completely neglected to call out the intro.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Cue the intro. Hey, go ahead and play our super long intro here.
Bang. Okay. So next question. How much do you think was spent collectively on video games in the year 2024, which this data is most recently available for?
That's so hard, man. That question is so difficult.
Give me just a ballpark.
$5 billion? I don't know.
That's okay. You know what? That's actually not close at all because
fuck you.
According to the Entertainment Software Association, a total of $59.3 billion was spent on video games in the year 2024.
That's so much money.
Would you like to guess which platform was the majority of it?
Okay. I have a guess.
Yeah.
I have a couple.
Platform, I'm specifically referring to like mobile, PC, console. Like, what do you think you're calling?
Mobile for sure, right? Because it's got like children.
Yeah. Main driver of revenue in video games for the year 2024, mobile, followed by console and PC. The Boston Consulting Group, one of the biggest consulting groups in the world, estimated that revenue from ads in mobile games are projected to grow from $6 million, which what they were in 2017, to $34 million in 2027.
Jesus, man.
Mobile games dominate this space. Now, I'm going to preface the top of the episode with, I mentioned this before, you know this. I stream and am an official influencer for Come To Us Games, which host the game Summoner's War. And boy, do I have a lot to say. But so basically, when looking into this episode, I wanted to talk about microtransactions, how they have evolved, where they've come from, and how it has ultimately, in my opinion, changed the landscape of video games. But before I do that, do you remember like being a kid and having were you a PlayStation guy or an Xbox guy mainly?
We had an Xbox in our house. We had the Xbox 360 growing up.
Yeah, that's like the OG. Do you remember before they rolled out like a massive Xbox Live update where you had like the little character and stuff? Like you could spend Microsoft points on a picture pack or fun little themes or something like that for your Xbox.
Yeah, they also used to have this thing where like you could dress your guy up for some reason. Like you could dress up like you're me. Like you
Yes.
could, and you could give him like they had like I used to think it was the sickest shit ever. They had this like assault rifle that like you could he it's like a Nerf gun, but he would have it and he'd be like pew, 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 and I was like, damn, he cool as hell in there.
Yeah, and
I never bought it because I was broke and a child, but I was like, that looks sick.
well, I remember like specifically you talking about that just brought back the memory of like when you would play certain games on Xbox and you would
Mm-hmm.
earn achievements and that would correlate to like what your little avatar could have. And I remember
So
100%ing Halo 3 to get like the Spartan armor. Like that is where microtransactions should have stopped. Right
No,
there, like that's where we peaked.
well, unfortunately, that's not a microtransaction. That's just a
No,
thing
but you
got,
could
right?
you could spend Microsoft points for that stuff, and it was like 400. And I remember
Yeah, sure.
finding out that you could actually buy Microsoft points, and I bought my first edition, the first edition of I played of Minecraft with 1,600 Microsoft points.
This guy is inflating his gamer score. He's this is my version of The Big Short. I'm like, he's like,
There's
why
a
is
bubble.
he saying?
There's a bubble.
Yeah, he's saying it so happily. He's bragging.
No, that was like doing chores, going to GameStop, spending $21 after tax to get 2,400 Microsoft points or something like that to
Sounds
just be
about right.
able to have an additional thing that didn't feel like a pay to win experience, right? It's kind of like you just had it. It was something to spend
sure.
your little what's it called allowance on. So initially, so where do microtransactions come from, right? Initially, microtransactions in games took the form of exchanging real life money for virtual currency. That is what it looks like now, obviously. But specifically, in 1982, the arcade video game Lost Tomb periodically offered players 25 whips for a quarter. So it was like a single target attack that was super powerful for 25 cents, which is like, okay, that's kind of fun. You're in the video game with your guys and you're like, I'm gonna cheat this level or I'm gonna spam through this level by paying an extra quarter. But I did not realize it started that early. I was thinking this is like a 2004, phenomena. Yeah. But the people were in the arcade spending quarters like it was nobody's business.
My guess, because I tried my best not to Google anything, but my inkling was going to be horse armor, because that was the first time I heard about it, like a microtransaction. But it turns out, I guess it's a lot. It goes all the way back to the root. It's a lot deeper than I'm thinking.
So I'm so glad you said that, because your memory does serve you right. Mm-hmm. The revenue model for the microtransaction gained traction in South Korea with the success of Nexon's online games, starting with one called Quiz Quiz. Mm-hmm. That went on to play out in games like Second Life, which I did not think was a real game. I thought The Office made it up for that episode.
No. I've watched Monster Factory religiously. That's a real game. It's.
They had one called Habbo Hotel, which I have not heard of these. And basically they were just cosmetic purchases that bared very little on like the actual game itself. And it was like $1 or $2. And this was like 2004 era PC. In 2005, $3.5 million were generated, and both of those games are shockingly active today. Then, to what you were talking about before, Oblivion comes out. Oblivion comes out by Bethesda, and they start to offer DLCs for like $1 to $3. And it started, and it kind of like birthed the idea of like downloadable content after a game has been released. And Oblivion releases, and I'm going to put a picture of horse armor.
Hell yeah. Wait, actually so sick.
But it was so poorly received. Like the players were like, why is this a thing? Why does it cost $2 on PC? And why does it cost like $2.50 or $3 on console? It was like there was already discrepancies in the community.
We should have been, if we were more mad back then, a lot of this shit wouldn't be happening now. We should have really stuck to our guns. We should have burned Bethesda Studios down to the ground.
So, I mean, look, I'm going to preface all this with saying there is room for additional buying in video games.
Absolutely.
A perfect example of that, one of like a peak moment in childhood, was when COD Zombies came out for Black Ops 1. And then they released Moon that you needed to buy with Microsoft points. Like you couldn't just buy it via, like, I guess you could go to GameStop and buy the code that you scratch off, but you just bought Microsoft points to get it. That was, the game came out, the developer said, hey, we want to release more things for the game that you didn't get initially. Here's an extra map, a full map with a full Easter egg system, all that stuff. That's great. That's what gaming should be.
Yeah, sure. And also, a lot of like cool, really great games that are free to play are supported through the existence of optional microtransactions, like stuff like Marvel Rivals is one of those where you can play for free and spend $0 on it your entire time. But if you want a fun little skin, feel free to buy one. What's that game? The one I never mentioned, the one I hate, League of Legends. You can play that for free or whatever, I think, and then you could, or Valorant as well. I imagine these are all falling into the same slot.
Well, so it basically, in looking into this, it has evolved to the idea that freemium, for those who are unfamiliar with the gaming space, freemium is exactly that. It's games that you play for free. You could technically never spend $1 on, but there are premium. Also, the camera whipping around like that is so funny.
I was trying to subtly grab something, and my camera was like, what are we looking at?
Tune into the YouTube to get a whole view of Jonas's room.
Yeah. Tune into my apartment if you want to just see what my apartment looks like. You show me you're following the TikTok, I'll open the door. I'll let you in.
Every week we just get a little bit further glimpse into who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm moving in 2 weeks, so you better lock in while you get it.
All right, so in the late 2000s and early 2010s, games like Farmville, shout out, The Simpsons Tapped Out, and Supercell's Clash of Clans start pioneering a new approach to implanting microtransactions in games, right? So we go from, you can spend to get like a couple extra things, to there is fully downloadable content that is available after the game has been released, to, hey, why not just spend money the whole process, the whole time? And you'll notice that Clash of Clans being one of the options is interesting, because even the tutorial for the OGs, and you know what's crazy to think about? There are kids who probably have never played Clash of Clans, like listening to this, you know?
I mean, probably.
Like Clash, or like don't know what Microsoft points are, which actually upsets me greatly.
The Xbox is dying soon. There's kids who are like never gonna know what an Xbox is. That's what's really crazy. It's gonna go like, ask your parents about the Sega Genesis, because that's how they're gonna feel about the Xbox soon.
Well, I mean, the way they keep pricing them out, like a Switch 2 is still what, like $500 or something like that?
Yeah, like $450, I think.
I remember as a kid, one of my birthdays, I so desperately, all I wanted was money so that I could go buy the Xbox. Oh my God, what was it called? It was the one that when you tap the power button, it went ding, and it was like sleek black. You know what I'm talking about?
It might be the Xbox One. Xbox also, we need to get back on the microtransactions conversation, but Xbox, worst naming convention of all time.
Yeah.
They were like, fuck it, we're the Xbox One now. Go 720. Make that number dumb big. Get stupid with it. Who cares?
And you were like Googling like Xbox 720 leaks and rumors, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically, these games start to come out like Farmville, Clash Clans, with things that just like speed up the game's process. Not necessarily like break the game, but like, hey, if you want to play our game more consistently and have more energy, you can spend $1 here or there. And we see with like things like Candy Crush, that's, you have a certain amount of life, but for $2, you can have 30% more life or whatever it is. So they, March 2009, FIFA comes out with Ultimate Team Mode. This is another in a series of long events of how we've gotten to that, just sort of bookmarking. March 2009, Ultimate Team Mode. If you're unfamiliar, you are a soccer football manager who
yes, please.
who
You see the Brazil shirt? Come on, talk to me next.
I've never played a FIFA game. Like, I've never owned a FIFA game. I've never owned a FIFA game. Sorry. I don't care for it. Okay. But I think you can rip packs to essentially get the best version of a player, right?
That's my understanding as well. Is that like you rip packs and then you assign those players to your team, and then you are building a team that you play against other people's teams online.
Yeah, and it's basically glorified gambling. It's
sure, yeah.
That's what it is. So that's another timestamp in the history of microtransaction. And then it kind of brings us closer today. I'm going to read you a quote. From around 2017, another major transition in how microtransactions are implemented in games occurred. Live service games like Epic Games Fortnite, with constantly changing and updating content, became more prevalent in the video game market. These types of games heavily employ the use of loot box microtransactions. And according to the 2009 report by the UK Parliament's House of Commons and the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee,
I'm always bringing up that committee.
They define loot boxes as items in video games that may be bought for real-world money, but which provide players with a randomized reward of uncertain value. The widespread usage of loot boxes by game developers and publishers have garnered a great amount of criticism from gamers in the past decade. Game developing corporations like EA, Activision Blizzard make billions of dollars through the purchase of their microtransactions. And in 2017, EA raked in around $1.6 billion on microtransactions alone. So now they're starting to garner criticism. Right? Mm-hmm. Because a key part of that quote is you get to pay us for a randomized amount, and there's no definitive way to determine if you get something worth that value, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
That's gambling. You might as well go to the casino and be like, I'm going to play $20 and I might walk out of here with 25,
Yeah, that's the dream. Well, gambling, at least and obviously, sorry, I hate gambling, but gambling, at least you coming home with real money. You know what I mean? I'm not going into a casino and coming out with, like, I don't know, 4 Charizards and being like, I guess this is worth it. I don't know how this lines up.
Yeah. And sort of like this starts to impact video games as a whole, because in 2011, a research company found that free games made so much more money than premium bought games that CEOs started pushing the message that all games should just be free. Mm-hmm. Subtext, free with a cost, right? Like eventually you will spend money. And according to an ex-BioWare developer named Manveer Air, in 2017, he said, microtransactions have become a factor in what types of games are planned for production.
Yeah. I mean.
So back to this idea of capitalism, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking that literally stops in my head word for word. I was thinking, all right, capitalism, we just do it again. And hey, I love consuming. I love to consume. But man, consumption under capitalism is hard. Ugh.
It is a whole different episode. Yeah. But as you can see, right?
The next episode, Das Kapital? What do you mean a whole different episode?
Das Kapital. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What are I've just laid out the history of the microtransaction. We're 20 minutes into the episode.
Yeah.
What is your, like, frustrations, agreeing? Like, what for you, what does the microtransaction mean?
I'm very staunchly, in my personal life, I try very hard not to spend anything on microtransactions. I think there's so much access to games that are super cool and super interesting that you don't have to spend into, that I usually spend a lot of my focus on those kind of experiences. And I was thinking about like, oh man, I really don't like microtransactions. Like I'm not a big fan. And I uncovered a really old memory that I had about microtransactions that I think I've completely forgot. This is a story I've never told another human being as long as I've lived.
So you want to put it on the internet?
Yeah, of course it's going on the internet. Yeah.
Okay.
Any piece of my soul that can get us one more like or view, I will expose it. Um yeah, but no, I was 9 years old and I was obsessed with Wizards 101.
Shout
And
out.
my shout out Wizards 101 for sure. This story's going to make you look bad. I so my mom, lovely woman, single mother of 4, she works endless hours at the hospital, and she when she comes home she's so tired that what me and my siblings used to do is anytime we would need like a permission slip or detention slip or anything signed or requested, we would ask her right before she goes to bed, because she would say yes, and it's technically not lying, because children have such a skewed view of morality. We were like,
Yeah.
hey, legally it's all in the clear. um and so doing that, I requested, so I would ask my mom for like, hey mom, if I use your credit card to get like some packs of Wizard 101, would you be mad? And she'd be like, no, go, yeah, sure. And so eventually I rounded up like hundreds of dollars in Wizards 101 packs, because and that I used to get beat as a child, like more like immigrant parent style beatings, not like, you know, abuse types beatings. And so that was a beating that I think infused into my spirit that microtransactions were evil and prey upon dumb people, because
You
I was
learned
like,
your lesson. You
I
learned.
oh, I learned my lesson. Yeah, yeah, buddy.
Oh
And
my.
also just like, it was crazy. But also like how, and I went in, this is like after, also like, of course I was sad because I got beat, but I also like made my mom sad, and it really made me sad. And so I went in weeks later, I go into my Wizards 101 account and I go into password and I type in a bunch of random numbers and letters into a notepad, copy it, paste it into change password, and then I made up a random email, changed the email to an email I couldn't access. And so now there's a rampant Wizards 101 account. Probably, if you can find, it's like, this is like our version of that Bitcoin wallet that,
Yeah, yeah.
if you can find it, it's got hundreds of dollars of
You
credits
tanked
on it or
yourself.
whatever.
You tanked yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the equivalent of like a gambler calling casinos and being like, "Don't let me in." And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is the amount of shame I felt as a 9 year old, like a 9 year old who wasn't told to do that. By the way, my mom was so focused on the ass whooping, she didn't even do any like preventative measures. It clearly worked, because my ass was like, I gotta make sure that never happens again.
Wow. Wow. What a
Yep.
mature 9-year-old. You know, all it took was
Not
one ass beating, and you were like,
that is not the official stance of the Tattoo Podcast. All it
so
took was
when
one
in
ass
doubt,
whooping.
capital punishment comes through.
It works. Just get
That
what is this? Yeah, so I got my ass beat for microtransactions, and then ever since then, every microtransaction I ever do, I'm like,
kind of get a little twinge. You're like, ooh.
yeah, I'm sitting funny. Ugh.
Yeah. That is opposed to the way I was raised, which
Mhm.
was my mom did not. She was like, if you want something off the internet, you physically have to go buy a gift card, like a vanilla gift card, and put
Aw,
it in, because I will not put my credit card into the internet. And
smart.
I was like, okay. So
Uh, a genius, by the way, a genius woman your mom was, because my scheming little ass, I would have been like,
yeah. It was.
technically, I'm not stealing. Yeah, man, what are you talking about?
Okay, so looking into this, like I was sort of going down the rabbit hole of researching this topic and the criticism that microtransactions have influenced, and one of the criticisms was children are very susceptible. If
Yeah.
you flash a brightly colored thing in a child's face and they are 10, 9, 8 years old, they don't understand what it means to get the thing for $10, right? 10 adds up to 20, 30, 40. You see clips on TikTok of people being like, my kid just spent $600 on Clash of Clans, not knowing that it was real money that was being spent.
Yeah.
And Apple, I have like gone through the reporting process of Apple. Apple will be like, they'll give you the first one, but if you report like a child bought this by accident, they're like, well, you didn't have protection on your phone. So that money's ours now. Like,
That's so devious.
It's crazy.
So crazy.
It's crazy. And I mentioned at the top of the episode, like playing that game Summoner's War, right?
Mm-hmm.
That game's model is insane. Every fifth action you take in the game, a screen pops up and says you can buy this pack for $25, $9, maybe $10. It goes all the way up to $100.
Yeah.
And I was going to get into it in this episode, but like specific, like Americans spend a lot on video games, but like Asia, South Korea, specifically Japan, spend 5 times the amount. Like full paychecks go towards these games. Their little tidbit for you: there is in Summers where there is a Chinese CEO who spends so much money on the game that when he buys everything that he physically can, an additional thing pops up in the game just for him that says, "Would you like to buy like these additional packs?" Because they're like, "Ah, shit, he'll spend the money, give him like more." Like,
at what level is like these people are often referred to as whales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we think about addiction. Like I was talking to a really good friend of mine. He was telling me stories about like relatives with addictions, and it was really touching. And it's really reminding me of some of those tendencies where it's just like the dopamine rush and the lack of self-control is so like, rampaging within oneself. And like at what point do we go like, man, some of this should be like a little, not even, I understand it's grown adults buying toys, you can't really stop it like that. But like maybe we should put certain limits on a thing or whatever.
Yeah, and it is taking shape some places like in Belgium, the Netherlands. They have put caps on this or limitations. Like certain companies, if you don't take out microtransactions in your game, the CEO can be served jail time or pay fines, like stuff like that. It's always the Nordic countries really coming through.
I fucking love, and here's the thing. US is so evil because they'd be like, they would just hire CEO. They would be like, the corporate conglomerate machine would be like, we'll hire a CEO, we'll make him take the fall, and then we'll get a new. Over in Denmark, they're like, oh my goodness, he's taken the fall in. Like they.
Yeah, I mean, it gets into the whole like the ethics of microtransactions and how people are susceptible, the psychology that comes from it. It very much is the same psychology as gambling, like we've been saying. There's criticism around like, how are you going to sit there and have a free game that then one pack in a game cost $100? The psychological trick of, this new season there's a new battle pass, and at the end of that battle pass, if you don't get that skin, then that shows you weren't a part of this season in a real way. Like, it's like kind of crazy the way they get you to buy into this, like, for lack of a better term, sheepish mentality.
I do have a question for you, Stash.
Yeah,
because my curiosity is, for games that are the freemium games, right, ostensibly free to play, these are games in which you don't have to, like, obviously there is a psychological drive to buy into these things, but like you don't have to buy into these things at all. You're getting to enjoy an incredible fun gaming experience for the cost of $0. And isn't that like kind of what we all wish for? So where is the and these games cannot exist without monetizing their cosmetics, right? They can't afford to open their servers, they can't afford to continue development, they can't afford to pay these people without selling something, right? So is this not kind of interesting in and of itself to be like, hey, we want you to keep making games, but we don't want to, I don't know, do the thing that helps you make the games?
Yeah, I mean, another criticism that I was looking into was like, there are even companies out there that you pay for the game and then you have to pay to play, or there's just
Yeah.
like COD, used to be $70, and then there was a battle pass for Warzone and all
Mhm.
that. Like obviously Warzone is free, but I think I think the way they go about it inherently makes it unethical
Yeah.
because, like, to reference Summoner's War again, when you first start an account, or if you come back after a certain amount of time, there's a period in which things cost less,
Yeah.
So when you hit level 100 on your account, which is max level in that game, for like, I don't know, 21 days, you can get a bunch of stuff for like 50% off, and they get you with
Mm.
that foot and door and technique, and then you're like, oh, I got something from that. All right, let me spend an additional 20, 30, 40, whatever it is. Like, the way they go about it is inherently evil.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely,
I don't mind
absolutely.
supporting a
Yeah.
game's continued development, but I'll always reference something like Baldur's Gate, where it was like, I paid
Mm.
$70 for that game and it was worth every penny,
I would pay. I would pay, and I'm glad, and I. That's why I love those Swedish fucks or whatever that wherever they're from, because I would have paid $300 for the amount of time I spent in Baldur's Gate. That game is a perfect video game. I fucking love that game so much.
Not to mention, you paid for it once, and then it opened up its
Yeah.
software, or what are they called, like open source mods that people could
Mhm.
just like contribute. Like, that is the type of gaming experience I think people really want. Yeah, I'll pay $70 for your game, but I better be able to play that game for the next 3 years
Yeah,
and have a different
absolutely.
experience the whole time.
Yeah, maybe obviously obviously we're being hyperbolic and that's like the
Yeah.
gold standard, but I think there is truth to that, right? Like I love paying for an experience and then just enjoying the experience. Like so many sick games that I've bought, I own, and I just own. They're just
Yeah.
down there in discs, and I have fun with them when I want to play them.
Well, there was talks about uh potentially Valve and certain corporations talking about like subscription based gaming
Mm-hmm.
and subscription based RAM usage. And so the day that happens, I will go postal. Like the day they
Yeah.
are like, yeah, you can log on to WoW, but for every hour you're on, every hour past the first hour cost,
Mm-hmm.
50 cents or $1. I'm gonna be like, you deserve the guillotine. Like,
Yeah.
let's start raking that thing out.
Honestly, though, they could sign me up for that model only because I just need someone to tell me to stop playing video games.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they would turn so many people away, obviously, who would just.
Oh yeah.
But then, like, we've gone so far to the point where I don't know if you've seen, like, Call of Duty. I don't know if
Mhm.
it still happens or whatever. There was like a period where you could pay for better audio, like crisper, clearer audio and like enhanced audio, spatial audio, so that you could tell where people were with like a slight advantage. Like, that was a subscription that you were allowed to pay for to
Jesus.
enhance your gaming experience.
Well,
Why the fuck? Like, why
and
the fuck would people do that?
that does bring in the question of like pay to win, right? Because that's a whole style of microtransaction within itself is paying to have an advantage within a game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that is the final criticism, is like, where do you draw the line between paying to progress and paying for purely cosmetic stuff? Like, I think
Mhm.
the Fortnitification of games, where it was like, yeah, we have the battle pass. It has no determining factor
Yeah.
on the way you play. Play is all skill based, but now it's creating this environment of like, yeah, but if you don't have this skin, then like
Mhm.
you're kind of out of the loop. And if you don't have
Yeah.
this
Broke
gun
ass.
pack, yeah, like Jenny, it becomes a weird sign of a social status almost.
Couldn't be me.
So, last thing I'll say about this before we
Mhm.
sort of transition to the two questions that you have is Jeffrey Epstein might have something to do with microtransactions.
I knew it. I knew this thing goes all the way to the top.
So, in
And
addition to
he's a
being an evil sex trafficker, he's also ruined video games.
if you're telling me a Mossad agent is the reason that we have microtransactions, you're telling me Netanyahu's behind this.
I mean, in 2013, in the Epstein files, there were emails between Activision's CEO and Jeff Epstein, and basically Jeff is like, take advantage of the kids, start selling shit. There's a common theme here.
Yeah, I
that
was gonna say
that piece of shit, like,
you're
obviously
telling me
did.
Jeff Epstein
Yeah.
should take advantage of the kid? That doesn't sound the financier. That doesn't
Yeah.
sound like.
The guy with the island.
It just does Gillette know about this? Let me call
Yeah.
up.
Just so that I'm curious people's thoughts, like where you stand on microtransactions, because like you said, there is one side that's like, well, it makes games free and continues their development so that the people can get paid. And on the other side, it's like, well, we're taking advantage of people who already probably don't have a lot of money and forcing them to buy, stuff that's unnecessary or is a pretend way to feel like you're a part of the full
Yeah.
experience.
I think there is a very nuanced discussion to be had within those two different schools of thought, right? And the balance of where do we strike down people for being like, hey, this is predatory advertising, or like, and oh, these companies make the majority of their money off these whales. And like at a certain point, do you go, all right, hey, you're spending too much on our game? Like,
Yeah.
they're never going to do that, of course.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Oops, we didn't come to a decision.
all right, what do you got for me?
Okay. So for the audience at home, I was recently talking to some people, and we were just talking about different things. And the fact that I let them know, oh, I have a podcast. It's been very fun to do, and we're trying to do different segments. And one of the segments we were interested in doing is audience questions. And luckily, these two people, very nice, they said, hey, we're audience, and we have questions. And would you? And I was like, I would love to hear them. Are you okay with me like asking them like on the pod or whatever? And they said, yeah, let them rip. And so they told me them. And so Stash, I would like to call this segment Nerdstrodamus, where we send our wisdom out to the people about nerdy and unnerdy related questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Dear Stas and Jonas, I'm someone who's recently gotten back into the dating pool and have no idea where to start. I thought movies were a good date idea, but my friends tell me that's actually frowned upon lately. What's a good first date spot?
Spot or idea?
I think generally idea. This person does. I mean, I know this person. They do live in DC. I can dox them. I can pull up their shit right now if we.
I mean, I would assume based on my experience and what I've been told is that the best first date is casual. It's
Yeah.
dinner, movie, you're kind of committing to something.
Yeah. What if I
that-
hate you?
Yeah, right. And then you're stuck at this person. Like if you realize you don't like someone before the drinks even come, then you're like, ah, shit, I'm stuck here for the next 2 hours. I think play it safe. The best first date idea is just get a drink or maybe get like ice cream if you don't drink.
Yeah.
Like just do something that's like very easy. You can part ways at the end with
Yeah.
no
I'm
stress.
I've been dating around recently, personally. I think I love doing something that gives us something to talk about because I think sometimes you're so just like anxious about like sitting in front of someone that you're like, ooh, I don't know what to do. And also, sometimes you eat weird and you think, oh my goodness, I forgot I eat weird. I've never thought about the way I put a fork to food to my mouth. And now this person across from me is gonna watch me eat all night and they're gonna think I eat weird, and then I'll never get to see them again. And it's gonna be horrific. So maybe a museum.
See, even that feels like a commitment though, you know?
Really?
Because you go in and there's no casual way to leave a museum. Like
What's so
you're like, I gotta
for...
use the bathroom, and then you like run into them in a different part because you're like, I don't know how the hell to get out of here.
I'm stuck. So Labyrinth is also out of date ideas.
Yeah.
Mazes, hedge maze
Yeah.
is out. Yeah, that's a good idea. Giving people like an off ramp is also nice and sometimes your energy will run out and you really want to just like kind of get out of there, and you want to give yourself that option.
Yeah.
Especially like I don't know how you guys are meeting these people, but sometimes you're meeting folks and you're like, I thought you were cool, but 1v1, I'm actually not enjoying your vibe
You know
at
what?
all.
I think a good date idea would be like an arcade, because it would allow you to focus on getting to know someone, but also give you an activity. So that if worst comes to worst, you could talk about the game.
hot. Oh wow, the nerd guy wants to take out to a little arcade. He wants to play some video games. He wants to go beep boops. Did you know that this machine actually was the first microtransaction that ever happened? And if I put a quarter in, I get a whip. Man, fuck you. Sorry,
Yeah. I don't know if she can hang at Time Crisis 4, then like I'm rocking with it.
You take them to the movies, but you actually don't go in. You just go to those like machines in front of the movies.
You're like, now ride the motorcycle, the stationary motorcycle.
Yeah. We could take the roller coaster one that's like VR, and you go.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to clock into my job, and it's like the taxi game.
We're going to the now defunct ESPN zone. That's actually where I'm taking you.
Okay.
And we got one more.
Sure.
But actually, I don't know if you might not. Do you have time? It's like 5:50 right now.
Yeah, we can make this quick.
Okay. We're gonna cut that. Don't worry. Dear Stosh, I recently got into a fight with my wife because she thinks that my graphic T-shirts are kind of out of style. I like them because they show off my different loves for fandoms. How can I represent who I am while not compromising my wife's want to be seen with me in public?
Whoa. We said we were going to make this question short. You got to strike a balance. You got to strike a balance. If you are okay, I'm being very hypocritical right now.
I promise I didn't know his fit before we started this episode.
This is not a public shirt.
He is wearing a Son Goku T-shirt. For those, he's wearing a Dragon Ball Z. And no disrespect to you, Stash. A pretty faded Dragon Ball Z T-shirt.
This is a Walmart tee. This is either I'm lounging around and it's flowy and cool because I run hot, or I'm going to the gym and I'm not wearing one of my better T-shirts.
Got you.
But
I'm wearing an old not a hand-me-down, but a T-shirt I got on vacation with a hole in the armpit. So clearly we're not at our best.
It is it's a balance. I definitely wear anime tees, but there are companies out there who make it I believe one might just be called anime tees actually, is they create stuff that is fandom related but can like blend into the culture, because I feel like definitely graphic tees have come back in like a retro vintage way, like
yeah, absolutely.
So I could see that, but like if you're rocking like a My Hero Academia shirt and it's just like the picture of the characters just PNG upload, like like you should probably consider, just for your own sake, like
and also like you can make it like postmodern in a way, right? Because there's a lot of people are doing like the graphic tee with like a cool pant and like some fun sneakers or whatever, and they're kind of bringing it back around. And I think like, and I'm sorry, buddy, I'm usually on your side, but I think some of these you just got to get rid of some of them, because hey, I'm proud of you for you got to the wedding.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up now, man. Just throw away them old ass shirts.
It's time. It's time.
Yeah,
it's hard to say goodbye, but I promise you there'll be more out there. You, to your point, can style anything. You cannot style this T-shirt, the one that I am currently wearing. You can style almost anything. You cannot style this T-shirt.
We're gonna get Madison Wisdom, and I think Wisdom K on the show, and we're gonna show how exactly how to properly style these terrible anime tees that we love to wear. I got a big My Hero Target T-shirt and it's a double XL, comes down to my knees. I wear it only with boxers, but yeah, sometimes you gotta try to put that shit on.
Yeah, but it's possible. It's possible. So don't give up. You don't have to change who you are just for that. It's possible.
And like more subtle references are really cool too, because then
logos
can be like,
logos are better.
And they're like, ooh, if you know, like, oh, like for some people they're like, oh, that's just a cool T-shirt, and for others they're like, oh, actually, that's a very swaggy, low key reference to it. Like I was at the gym and I saw someone with like a Gara gym bag, and I was like, that's so sick.
That's awesome.
And it just looked like a gym bag to other people, but for those who knew, they knew.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts. And like we said, we want to open up the ability to just interact with you as the audience. Ask us questions in the comments, and we'll jot them down.
And we'll also be if you ever click on our link tree, we'll have a link to our little Google form where you can drop a question in there too.
Cool. Jonas, much love to you. Enjoy
right,
your week. It's like I'm signing off for work. And
Yeah.
Stay out of the rain. I don't know.
They just let anybody in here, huh? All right.
Thank you for tapping in.
And we're tapping out. Bye, guys.